Parc Astérix is one of Europe's most popular theme parks, hitting 2.3 million visitors in 2023. They're located 22 miles north of Paris, France, right off of a major highway, the A1. It's in a really great location, also super close to the Charles de Gaulle International Airport. That makes it really accessible, and the park has been clearly getting a lot of attention lately, especially for the 2023 season. They debuted the Festival of Tatus, their largest expansion yet, included their 8th roller coaster, Tatus. There's already a full separate review of that attraction, as well as a walkthrough of the Festival of Tatus area on this channel. Be sure to go check those out. This is going to be an all-inclusive review of Parc Astérix itself. I've had the opportunity to visit 3 times, once in 2022 and twice in 2023, and I was absolutely blown away by this park. It has some absolutely fantastic roller coasters and some brilliant theming. The atmosphere and vibe around this place is spectacular. There's so much detail, stunning views, and also some of the best operations in all of Europe. The team members here are really efficient, pumping those trains out on all the different roller coasters. This park can get busy, but the lines move fast, that's for sure. But let's give a little backstory first. Going back to 1989, Parc Astérix actually made its debut before Disneyland Paris, which happens to be Europe's most popular theme park, located just about an hour away from here. But Parc Astérix came first. It's based around the Astérix comic book characters. This is a very popular series in France and is really spread across the world. It follows a group of Gaulish warriors fighting the Roman Empire. It never really caught on in the United States, where I'm from, and so when I visited, I had actually never heard of any of these characters. I don't think I understood a lot of the references that were scattered throughout the park, but in the time in between my first visit and my most recent visit, I definitely gained a better understanding of the series. I have more of a grasp of who these characters are, what the story is, so I'll say understanding the characters will absolutely help you appreciate the park more, but you don't have to in order to have a good time. I kind of liken it how you could visit Disney without ever seeing the Mickey Mouse cartoons. Astérix is this park's Mickey Mouse. Now, when you go to make a visit to Parc Astérix, even though it's in a convenient location, this park is actually rather difficult to get to by public transit. You pretty much need to take a car or an Uber. There is a bus you can take to Parc Astérix from CDG, but that's probably the best you get. I'd definitely love to see some sort of train station next to Parc Astérix. I think it'd really help integrate it for all the tourists that are coming from central Paris. And then when you enter the parking lot, you see the sprawling view of Pegasus Express. That's their Gersauer family coaster, brilliant addition. One of my favorite rides by that company. Even though it's not super tall or fast, it's an awesome layout. Before we really jump into the park itself, I also have to mention that Parc Astérix has 3 on-site hotel properties. Some of them look to be really stunning. That's something that I would have loved to have done during any of my visits to Parc Astérix, and I'll definitely consider doing next time I visit. I think if you do more than one consecutive day here, that's a huge advantage, because right off of this exit, there aren't really any other hotels around. Like, you have some hotels around CDG, which is like 15 minutes south, but that's it. So this is a great way to stay right next to the park. Now, as you make your way up towards the front, we have a rather plain pathway that leads you directly up to the turnstiles. Nothing super remarkable here, pretty simple, but as soon as you pass through that front gate, we have this beautifully themed little village that acts as your main street. You can stare up at this massive mountain in the center of the park with Astérix sitting up top. The way they did up these facades really makes it feel like you're actually in the cartoon. It's brilliant stylization. You'll find a gift shop up front, a lot of Astérix specific merchandise here. It's mostly just the comic book characters instead of like Parc Astérix specific merchandise. I found the best merch to be over in the Tatus gift shop. There they actually have stuff for that ride, which is great to see. And then up directly next to the front gate is a small building dedicated to baggage storage. This actually came in handy for us when we first visited Parc Astérix. We had full suitcases with us and nowhere to put them. So we paid, I think, like €5 and they kept them there for the day so we could walk around and then pick them up as we left. That was great. But this first land is an outstanding first impression, and that quality continues throughout the entire property. So as you make your way down this path, it opens up into this massive plaza for the Grand Coliseum. This is one of the several show venues in Parc Astérix. Unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to see any shows when we were at the park, which is something that I really wish we got to do. But there are multiple live entertainment options scattered about, including a diving show in ancient Greece, various walk-around characters that we saw in the Festival of Tatus land, and then tournaments in the actual Coliseum. But this show venue is really the start of our next major theme section, which, as you might be able to guess, is the Roman Empire. You know you've entered this section when you see this massive head of Julius Caesar. Crazy visual spectacle there, just randomly off of the main path. There's a pizza place, actually some pretty good food there we tried the first time I visited. As far as rides go, there's a carousel and then a mock rides madhouse. Yes, I did say that's a mock madhouse, not Vekoma. Pretty weird, right? This has a fun theme like you're on a ship and it's rocking back and forth. It has some screen effects that show the ocean and a big storm coming. It's a neat idea, but some of the screens weren't working. I feel like this ride needed a little bit of love, but it's still a fun ride. If you've never done one of these before, you'll be quite surprised by how bizarre of an experience it is. We didn't even realize that there was a madhouse here. We just saw that this was some sort of indoor attraction, so we got in line for it. Glad we did, but have definitely done better. So Parc Astérix overall has a circular layout, so we're going to move to the left-hand side. Up next is Ancient Greece. This is by far one of the best themed sections in the park. Everything is designed to look like Mykonos. The white and blue color palette is stunning. That's where Pegasus is. You also find the first of many water rides. This one passes directly alongside Pegasus. The entrance to these rapids is actually back in the Roman section, but this is where you can get the best views of it. They also have a flying carpet ride. It's rare to see one of those around. That was certainly a pleasant sight. The other roller coaster in this area is a small Zero coaster called the Flight of Icarus. It's got like a bobsled style seating setup and you pass through some theming elements, some stonework. It's a neat little ride, nothing much to it though. As you keep going around, you pass by this beautiful lake. There you can see a Zamperla disco, Discobolex. Easily one of the best themed discos I've ever seen. Stunning attraction going out over the water. This was by far one of the most popular rides that we saw, and that's directly next to Tener to Zeus. Like to Tatus, there's already a full separate review of Tener to Zeus on this channel. Go check it out. But really iconic ride, especially with that massive Zeus statue out front. So cool, and his underwear is awesome. So that does it for Ancient Greece. Next up is the Vikings. This is where you have Gudrix, the legendary Vekoma multi-looper, popular with the public, hated by enthusiasts. This is the only roller coaster left standing that opened with the park in 1989. I really hope that one day they replace it with something better because as of now, my favorite thing about it is the sheep directly underneath. Completely absurd and totally random. I don't know why that was the area decided to hold them, but the sheep don't seem to mind the giant roller coaster going over their heads, so somehow it works. I love these wood bridges that you take over the water. Really makes for some great visuals. One of my favorite attractions here is this floating bar. It's not an upcharge attraction, but it also kind of is. In order to experience it, you have to purchase a drink from the bar. So like I got a bottle of cherry Coke. It was definitely overpriced at €7, but you're really paying for the experience. You get strapped into the seat and then the whole thing lifts up into the air, giving you a panoramic view of the entire park. It is really cool. I'd never done anything quite like it. The photo ops were stunning. It was definitely a little spooky. I mean, your legs are dangling. You feel very exposed, but I highly recommend it. There's no better place to enjoy a drink than all the way up at the top. But also in this land is a couple family attractions, including a swinging ship. A nice little land for sure. The next area we're covering is called Through Time. This land has a mix of medieval theming with this beautiful castle-like structure. Definitely an Old English influence on the architecture here. There's also a completely enclosed section where you have all these facades that it looks like you're walking along a street at night. Really atmospheric. It almost reminded me of Epcot at Walt Disney World. I really enjoyed walking among these streets. There's so many hidden pathways, just little areas for you to discover. As you exit out the other side of this path, it opens up into this fun plaza where you have a couple family rides, including this raft attraction with a really cool entrance. There's also a classic wave swinger and an entire covered seating section where we enjoyed a fresh panini. It's pretty good. A lot of colors here, and that's what leads you into Egypt. So this is one of the expansion areas to Parc Astérix that debuted when they opened up Osiris in 2012. Prior to Tatus, I would say that was like the ride of this park. It's an awesome B&M invert. We jokingly call it French Montu because it absolutely reminds us of Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa in Florida. Both rides have an Egyptian theme, but I'll be honest, this one does it a lot better. Like the Ancient Greece section, this land has a brilliant color palette and stylization, really pulling you into the cartoon depiction of ancient Egypt. There's tons of hieroglyphics alongside the station for Osiris, which is your big centerpiece. It's just incredible. There's also another small roller coaster next door. That's a Zero Tivoli. Real long train, definitely a tame ride. There's no true kiddie coaster here, but between this and the Icarus roller coaster, you have some options that I think the kids could do. They wouldn't be too scary, but also the parents would be able to enjoy as well. Lastly, new for 2024 in this land is a small Starflyer. Should be a nice fit. It gives this park an attraction type that they didn't have before. It would have been nice to see them go a bit taller, but I imagine they didn't because they don't want to make it too intimidating that kids might stay away, especially when you already have such a high thrill attraction with Osiris right there. Regardless, this park currently only has what I would consider one large-scale flat ride, that being the Zamperla Disco. Everything else is relatively small, and there's no drop tower, scream and swing, or frisbee. These can be really impressive attractions that you can also theme up. I would love to see Parc Astérix invest in something on that scale up next. But our next land we're going to cover is called Gaul. This is patterned after the land that the main characters in Astérix live in. A lot of log cabin style buildings, very foresty feel. There's a couple big water rides as a part of this land. There's a log flume that was immensely popular, one that I've heard is really fun, but unfortunately we didn't get the opportunity to experience it. There's a slow moving river cruise, and then a traditional boat ride called Revenge of the Pirates. That's going to be one to do if you don't mind getting soaked, but that double down does look like fun. This was unfortunately another attraction that we didn't get the chance to experience it, but it is really cool to see just how many water-based attractions are at this park, and they all seem to be very well loved. But finally, that leaves us with the Festival of Tatus, the new for 2023 land, home to the pre-existing mock bobsled coaster. Awesome ride, crazy capacity. It can have 2 trains on the lift hill at once, which is pretty wild. Some of the fastest dispatches I've ever seen in my life. This land is perfectly integrated into the park, and it features perhaps their best theming yet. To say they spared no expense would be an understatement. We spent a lot of time in this land and loved every second of it. Now, part of that is largely due to their new intimate multi-launch coaster, Tatus, which is the ride of Parc Astérix. By far the most thrilling here, unless you do Zeus backwards, then I'd say that has the edge on it. But this is a really, really strong attraction, easily one of Europe's best. Don't miss it, at least as of the 2023 season. This was the ride that everyone was running to first thing, so be prepared, it can get a long line. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Parc Astérix is extremely popular. If you're only going for one day, I would highly recommend getting their skip the line system, Filet-O-Matics. This system is integrated with the Parc Astérix app. Essentially, you pick the ride that you want to do, you select the number of people in your party, and it'll generate a QR code that you scan at the entry next to the main line that you walk through and you get right on. I have gotten it every single time I've gone to Parc Astérix, and it has made the day way less stressful. Yes, the operations here are great, but there is so much to do. If you want re-rides especially, get this. There's different tiers so you can choose which one is right for you. In worst case scenario, you can pay to just skip one line. Some of them are as low as like $6 a piece. Definitely look into it before visiting. So at the end of the day, as you've wrapped up exploring all the different themed lands of Parc Astérix, should you go home? Well, yes, maybe, but not before checking to see if they have an epic nighttime spectacular after park close. Unlike Disney, which has fireworks literally every single night, this is going to be a bit more sporadic, but still pretty good. Nowhere near to the same scale as what you get about an hour down the road, but for what it is, I'd say it's better than the average theme park nighttime show. There's fountains lit up out on the lake, fireworks in the background, it's all timed up to music. Nice way to conclude things, and that gives you an idea of Parc Astérix. I know I didn't cover everything, but I at least tried to hit the main stuff. This is easily one of my favorite theme parks in Europe. It is the definition of quality over quantity. Like, they have just enough roller coasters to be satisfying, but everything was placed with a purpose. They kept sightlines in mind, there's a good diversity of attractions, everything is so well integrated, and the people who work here care. All those ride-ups I saw were giving it their all. They were encouraging you to go fast. It's also one of the reasons that you ride with your loose articles for most roller coasters. For Osiris and Tatus, you put it on a little cart and then you pick it up at the end. But for everything else, Gudrix, Zeus, Pegasus, you just put your backpack at your feet because it's not extreme enough for your loose articles to go flying. But it helps them keep those trains rolling. There's so much charm and personality into this park, I really don't have any major downsides. I would say the food is definitely overpriced, but what do you expect? You're getting a premium experience when you come to Parc Astérix. Plan on at least one day here, but you could easily do 2 if you wanted. I would absolutely go back. I look forward to returning one day. I think a lot of theme parks should pay attention to what Parc Astérix has done. They could learn a lot. Easily one of the gold standards in the amusement industry. So let me know down in the comments below if you visited Parc Astérix just north of Paris, France. If you agree with the points that I brought up, if you think there's anything I missed, be sure to post it down below. And stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.